Welcome into the 16 Sports Extra podcast. I'm Jackson Neal. That's Sabrina Hoover. Sabrina, it's football season.
It's football season, fall camp time, right? I mean, you were there for the first day of fall camp. I just got done with day 2, but I mean, it's exciting, but it's also like, how are we here? Like,
It really does feel like that. I mean, and the craziest part too is we're also less than a month now until the regular season opener at Miami. The day we're recording this on Friday, August 1st. So 30 days until that regular season opener, 2 days of fall camp down. We got to see all of yesterday's practice, the first day of fall camp's practice. So we're going to have some takeaways from that.
Yep.
And then, but today we're going to start with the quarterbacks because that's who spoke today. Sabrina, you were there.
Yep.
What are your takeaways after hearing Carr and Minchie give their pitches to be the starter?
Definitely, elevator pitches, right? But it was actually so funny. I got to see CJ Carr's maturity. Like you have mentioned multiple times before, he's up there just like a vet. He talks so mature. He's just so comfortable with these interviews. And so is Kenny, but CJ just strikes me more of like the serious type, and it's like, he jokes a little bit here and there, but he's just very, very comfortable. And I love the number one thing that I got from the conversation in the interviews today was CJ Carr talked about, the most challenging thing that I've had to learn is like, it's not me versus Minchie. It's me versus myself. And we are both quarterbacks that are striving to get the number one spot, but at the same time, we are not, am I better than Minchie or am I doing this the same as Minchie? It's like, we're not going to focus on that because when we do, we're going to mess up and we're going to make mistakes and we're, not going to think about the bigger picture because in reality, they are teammates, they're friends probably. And it's at the same time, it's a job, but at the same time, you cannot think about the whole rivalry as a whole. You got to think about yourself and how you grow as an athlete.
And it's such a good point you made right there, just the, focusing on yourself, but how hard it is. I mean, I think we were talking about this in the office, just like these guys aren't used to all of this.
Yeah.
They aren't used to having a podcast right now where we're one of a couple podcasts that are talking about who should be the starter. If you go on any social media, there's people talking about this. These guys, the last time they were really playing a lot was back in high school, where obviously it's a lot different than this type of scrutiny you get in college and then the type of scrutiny you get at Notre Dame itself. And I think yesterday was just a really good example of that because one thing we have to talk about with the first day of fall camp were those interceptions.
Yeah, definitely.
And we got to see the whole practice, and in that whole practice, CJ Carr threw 3 picks, although the last one we can debate, and then Minchie threw 1. And honestly, both of them did not look too sharp throughout the entire practice. They definitely had their good moments as well. I don't want to say they didn't have any good moments, but for the most part, neither one really stood out as, oh, I'm the perfect option. Both looked like they had their flaws and both looked like they had things they did well.
And I like how you mentioned that too about the scrutiny part, because even someone asked CJ Carr about, what do you do? Like, how do you block out the noise of all this? And he's like, I delete social media. Like,
you have to.
The fact that, it's on Twitter, it's on Instagram, it's on TikTok, it's all these social media platforms that are, saying what their thoughts are and their opinions. But also back to your point about the interceptions, Mike Denbrock mentioned that as well today in the interviews, that was the first time that these quarterbacks really got reps and also got to experience failure. And yes, it's not in a game setting, but to have that in practice, he's kind of glad, like he's not happy for the turnovers, of course, but he's kind of glad to see that from them because, again, just like Marcus Freeman mentioned earlier in his press conferences, they were like, all right, just like one after another. It's like, I got to get to the next play. So, like, the fact that they can turn on a dime and be like, I made that mistake, but it's the next one.
Exactly. I mean, we don't have video to show the interceptions because it was just during the viewing period, but to kind of describe it for you guys, the interception for Minchie, he was throwing across the middle. It was double coverage. Adon Schuler came down really fast. I mean, so fast that he caught the ball. And was it Luke Talich he ran over? I think it was Luke Talich. I forget who exactly it was.
Another big safety,
he just ran over another defensive player, like popped him. It was just a bad throw by Minchie. It was just he thought he could get it in a window, and you can't get it in that window. Maybe against a team without too much talent, but against a team with a player like Adon Schuler, you can't fit it in there. So that was a bad throw by him.
Yeah.
And then for Carr, his first 2 interceptions were both to Tay Johnson. First one was just underthrown ball. Going deep, underthrow it. What are you going to do? The other one was a throw where it's kind of a slant across the middle of the field, off to like the right side. He was trying to level it over Tay Johnson's head, but then underneath the far safety so they could get to his receiver. And then Tay Johnson just showed off what looked to me like a 40-inch vertical and went up and caught the ball. I mean, it's an important lesson for Carr right there. I mean, you're going to see interception. You're going to say, oh, that's bad. But what that teaches Carr is that this is not high school. Like these are, you're going against a guy like Tay Johnson, against any non-future NFL or high-level college football player. That's a completion. But when you're playing at Notre Dame, you're going to be playing guys like Tay Johnson on the other side, where that's an interception now.
And I love how you mentioned that secondary, because not only are you facing, a defense in college, but you're facing a Notre Dame secondary, arguably one of the best secondaries in the nation. So it's just so crazy because, again, we talk about there's no Xavier Watts, there's no Benjamin Morrison, no Al Golden, but it seems like there's no problem for their defense, especially now with new defensive coordinator Chris Ash. And I think we'll talk a little bit about him later, but just him coming in, new coordinator, but it's the same culture. And I think even Freeman mentioned in his press conference too, of keeping this defense obviously the same of what Al Golden built, but keep Chris Ash. And I think that's the biggest thing too, is knowing how dominant this defense was last year and knowing how dominant they could be in just this entire season.
This isn't going to sound like a compliment, but I mean it as a compliment. This defense is a bunch of bullies. Like this, So one of my favorite plays. We looked at each other and laughed after this one, Sabrina. You remember when I mentioned it. It was after a play, and it was either Jadarian Price or Jeremiah Love. I think it was Jeremiah Love.
Oh yeah, I know.
Play ends. He's out of bounds. He's just holding onto the ball. What does Don Schuler do? He just stays holding him, slaps the ball out of his hands, picks it up, and then runs away. And Love is looking around like what are we doing? But that's it's one of those little moments. Obviously, it doesn't mean anything technically, but what it shows me is that this defense they want the ball. They are just bullies. They will do anything to stop you, even if it's after the play and they want to just get in your head and it's a first day of fall camp.
Yep.
They're going to mess with you.
Yep.
And that's the level this defense is playing at.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned that too, because I was like, imagine being so tired at practice, after a few reps, and then you got Schuler messing with you. And it's like, Schuler, come on.
Those are the types of guys where you hate to play against them, but you love when they're on your team. Yes, and right there, Love's probably thinking, man, Adon, he's so annoying. But trust me, when it gets to be first week at Miami, and then Love's on the sideline, and Adon's doing that to the Miami running backs or wide receivers, he's going to be like, oh, I like that guy.
Yeah,
I'm glad he's my teammate.
But yeah, no, I think that's just amazing to see just this defense and how they've kind of gelled together. And it's like Chris Ash coming into this, he's like, yeah, I'm a new, coordinator, but of course he has tons of experience, but he's like, I don't have to do much. Yes, he has to do a lot, but it's like, this is already a solid foundation. So how great is that to come into, a university that already has had success and already has had a coordinator like Al Golden come into the mix?
I mean, I think the way we talked about it was, and the analogy I used was, the Notre Dame defense was a sports car going 75 miles an hour down the highway, just going straight, cutting the corners perfectly, looking awesome. And then all that Chris Ash really has to do is it's already going 75 miles an hour. He just has to hop over in the driver's seat, keep the foot on the gas at the same spot, keep the hands, and you're good.
Yep.
And I think that's what you're kind of saying right there, is that he's not rebuilding anything. He's not building anything. It's built. There are so many talented players, and I think one thing that fans might not realize right now is how much talent is on this defensive side of the ball, because a lot of times, they haven't seen this yet. And thinking about it, there was a lot of players that were lost. Jack Kaiser, Riley Mills, Howard Cross, Xavier Watts, Benjamin Morrison. I mean, how many players can you, you can list so many guys who not only aren't here right now, but were drafted or are now in the NFL. So those are the types of talent that they have lost. But the thing is, they've replaced them with guys who might even be higher round picks. Yeah. Now they might be young, but there is so much talent on this defensive side of the football. And I think fans are going to start to see these guys, they're not Jack Kaiser with the most starts in Notre Dame history, but they're freaks. They are athletic freaks. And that is what Marcus Freeman has been recruiting. And I think this year is going to be the first season you're going to fully see it on that side of the ball, because let me tell you, Tay Johnson, when he went up to grab that ball, you should not be able to do that. Leonard Moore, what he can do in coverage at his kind of size and his kind of as youth is, you're not supposed to do that. There's a lot of guys on that side of the ball that do things where you just shake your head and go, I didn't think people could do that.
You're like, that's not right.
That something looks wrong.
Yeah. And another safety I actually mentioned to Freeman yesterday was Luke Talich. You know, we saw him in that blue gold game earlier on. He had like back-to-back goal line stops on Aeneas Williams. And I'm like, this kid is the real deal. Like, he's big. I mean, it's funny because like he looks scrawny, like, you know, he's skinny, but you look at his arms and you look how much power he can get on these like certain plays. And I'm like, holy crap, like, where is this dude? Like,
and Aeneas Williams is probably, I mean, he is a sturdy guy.
Yeah.
Like, he is a very just stocky
he's all
dude.
Muscle.
All muscle, and he is not slim at all.
No.
And Talich in that blue gold game just absolutely laid him out.
Yep.
I mean, we heard it, I think, in the press box. It was that crazy. Yeah. But yeah, so this defense just has a lot of talent. One thing I do want to mention also, CJ Carr, that third interception. Okay, so here's how it happened. There was like the end of practice. They're running these like 2-minute drills. I think they put a minute 32 on the clock, and they were allowing the QBs to kind of run this. Kenny Minchie's drive pretty much just stalled out right away.
Yeah.
It did nothing really happen. Carr's drive, there was a definite difference in the way that he commanded the team. You could just constantly heard him say, like, you know, barking out the play calls after a completion, getting the guys right back to the line. Like, they'll be celebrating, but he's already all business. He then hits, I think, was it Micah Gilbert along the far sideline?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
It was perfectly
Beautiful.
Just in between the safety and the cornerback. Just there's that little opening, hits Gilbert along the sideline, in stride, perfect throw. And he seems like he scores a touchdown. So it was a safety comes over, hits him. Honestly, I think it might have been Schuler. I think Schuler was actually trying to hit him out of bounds. Like, actually trying to tackle him.
Still being a bully.
Yeah, still being the bully. Love the guy.
Yeah.
But Gilbert, like, keeps his feet, keeps on running, or whatever the receiver was, keeps on running down the sideline and scores a touchdown. And, you know, the entire practice is going crazy. And everyone's like, oh, whoa. What I will say, though, is while everyone's going crazy, Carr, he is understanding the moment that, like, he's seen that the coaches are calling it out and done where he got touched by the safety. So he's thinking, run another play. He's the one guy who's shouting out, you know, reload. He's shouting out the play calls, gets everyone back to the line, even with all this kind of commotion going on, gets a playoff, and then it was just a deflection that Carson Hobbs just, like, made a crazy play on. Like, I don't, and that's my whole thing is, like, I'm pretty sure he threw a touchdown on the play before.
Yeah.
And then was able to get everyone back to the line through a quick ball. I think it bounced off the receiver's hands and then was deflected off like his leg and got to Carson Hobbs, who dove for it. If you want to count that as a bad interception, be my guest. But to me, that whole sequence only left me impressed.
Yeah, and you talk about the reload thing. His focus is incredible. I mean, he, what was it? He was like throwing balls whenever, you know, by himself, like over in the corner. And someone asked him about that today, and he was like, I'm just staying focused. Like, my mindset, you know, is obviously get the play, get better, all that. And it's like, he's working overtime. Like, this man, I'm not saying Minchie isn't. Obviously, he's focused as well. But Carr is just so, like, you know, reload. And it seems like everything's just so serious and everything is so meticulous to him. And I love that passion and the way that he's, you know, just kind of driven himself, especially how young he is, really.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I wanted to bring that up as well, the throwing the football while everyone else is stretching.
Yeah.
Okay, so this can be taken a couple different ways. Because obviously, like, everyone is stretching. Like, the way it works is that there's like they're all like within one half the field and they're all just stretching on that side. Every single player, everyone on the team is there. Every so often on the other side of the field, we see maybe a kicker or a punter just doing some special team stuff. But no, now 2 days in a row, it is CJ Carr flinging that football around. And yeah, you could do the whole, man, he should be with the team or everything, but I think you have the correct read on it of this guy is so dialed in.
Yeah.
He is so focused that, like, he doesn't really care about, okay, how will this maybe be perceived by the media who's standing right there, who we only get to see stretching in the first 4 periods from now on, and so we can still see this. He doesn't care about that. All he cares about is thinking, once my number is called in this practice, I want to make sure that I'm throwing the football as best as I can. And look, it's a little bit of like a lone gunslinger kind of mentality in a way, I think, but I really respect it.
Yeah.
Because that just showed that you're right. It's like maniacal. It is like it is that, like, you think like Kobe Bryant Mamba mentality type of stuff of just like, I am going to just singularly focus on getting better every single second I'm at practice. I think he even said in that quote, like, he didn't really ask permission.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
He did. He just started doing it.
Yeah.
That's something I love.
Forgiveness.
Yeah. I think I always tell you, like, one of my favorite lines is like, know the situations where it's right to, rather than, beg for, ask for permission, just beg for forgiveness.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's one of those ones of just like, I'm in a battle. I'm in a competition battle. And yeah, if you're a teammate, could you see that and be like, well, why is he stretching with us? You could think that.
Yeah.
If I was his teammate, I'd probably be thinking, that guy is next level, man.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't even ask coach if he could just start throwing the football, and he's throwing it, and those look like dimes, and he is locked in. Like, that's how I would view it. Be like, this guy he's taking it serious to another level.
And what real quick, the one thing I really did like that he said today was like, obviously seeing Riley Leonard and, getting advice from him, he, just saw how much he led the team, how much, his relationships with the team really just value the team. And he was like, I learned so much from that. And we know how Riley Leonard was as a leader, and that's the perfect role model that you could have. So the fact that he talked about that today at the interview, and he was like, I learned from him. I take advice from him. I saw how he, dialed in each play. I saw how he talked to the players and, built those relationships. So the fact that he's learning and that he's listening and, again, dialed in on every single play, even during stretching, it says something different about him, that, he wants anyone's advice. He wants to know, what can he do better? What play can he do better on? So I just think, like, to have that mentality at that age is actually insane.
The thing I just keep coming back to is that 2-minute drill and how in control he sounded and the offense felt. Now, every single play he made on that drill was not perfect. I think there was an incompletion or two.
Right.
Like, there were still mistakes. But the thing that definitely he felt he had more of than I saw from Kenny Minchie was he owned that moment. In his mind, it was a minute 32 left in the national title game, and he's trying to drive Notre Dame to win the championship. That is how he sounded. That was how he was acting. And he was making sure that everyone on that field acted like that too. Like, everyone's going commotion after that big completion. Some of the offensive linemen are going, whoa, like they're all celebrating. That his voice kicks in, reload. Guess what? Everyone's back lined up, back in their spots, no false starts. Like, that is a big part of being a quarterback as well. Like you just talked about, learning from Riley Leonard, the leadership aspect, also that aspect on the field as well.
Yeah. Definitely. And like the fact that, that just brings more confidence to the entire offense. When you see a leader like that wants to, they make a mistake, but it's like, okay, next one, it's like, it's out of their brain right there. And Freeman talks about that a lot. So
yeah, he talks about that so much, and just, it's that command. And you brought up how young he is. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago, in end of 2023, he came here as a true freshman. Then at the end of the season, he graduated high school, a semester early, and came here in December, was getting bowl practices before the Sun Bowl. So he's been with the program now. He's going to be coming up on, 2 years this December. So if he's a starting quarterback and they're playing in the playoffs, it's going to be 2 years since he joined the program once the playoffs kind of get started. Even though he's just going to be a sophomore, it's kind of crazy to think about that timeline, but you really see it. He just feels so in command. And then I don't know, I mean, we talked about it in spring, and from the clips I saw today, it seemed like it as well. Even like talking to the media, he's just in command. It's just, it just feels like a quarterback.
Yeah, no, and you're right, just about the maturity level. I'm like, this kid is 28.
It's like, I feel like he's a second year starter, third year starter. No, he hasn't even won the starting job for one season.
Yeah. So I guess, it's going to be, again, interesting, but I think it's cool to kind of see the differences and also similarities between Minchie and Carr kind of going throughout this entire process.
Of course, but we're going to have plenty more coming up. Also, starting next week here on the WNDU 16th Sports Podcast Network. I just made that up. We're going to have the Pot of Gold coming back. That's myself, along with Mike Berardino and Tom Noy, football writers from the South Bend Tribune. We always had a lot of fun on that one. Mike always brings a couple takes.
He is a fun guy. Let me tell you.
You gotta stay tuned for the weekly segment of flashbacks that Tom Noy does about Notre Dame football, and then Mike always finds a way to describe where he was. usually covering some minor league baseball team in North Carolina.
Yep.
So that's coming back next week. Of course, we're gonna have this. We're gonna have some good high school content coming up on this podcast next week as well as plenty more Notre Dame football stuff because it's football season, Sabrina, and we have stuff coming up on here as well as we're gonna have 16 News Now Game Day. That's gonna be returning on Saturday, August 29th before that Miami game, August 30th before the Miami game. The 29th is the Friday.
Forgot the game's on a Sunday now.
16 Sports Extra, the high school football show returns on the 22nd. That's the Friday. We're gonna say all that stuff later as well. But thank you so much for watching. And yeah.